Hello, I'm Tony Micheletto. I started on the smelter at Comarco Bay in 1955, which was still in construction at the time, and I knocked off in 1968. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation.
60 years since Tony Micheletto started and the first ingot was produced, Bay Aluminium has come a long way, but still it continues to contribute to Tasmania's wealth and sense of community. The smelter at Bay lies in the north of Tasmania, Australia's southernmost state. It might be at the bottom of the world, but its reach is global. Aluminium is one of the most sought-after metals in the world. A renewable resource, it's easily and endlessly recycled. It's part of everyday life and continually used in global innovations. It is light, strong and flexible. Bay is home to the first aluminium smelter in the Southern Hemisphere, built to overcome Australia's dependence on the import of aluminium. The smelter opened as a joint venture between the Tasmanian and Australian governments.
As the official opening day arrives, Minister for Supply, the Honourable Howard Beale, presses a button and production begins.
Bay was chosen as the best site because of its deep water port, Tasmania's clean hydroelectric generating capacity and competitively priced electricity. The men who built this smelter were pioneers. Most were non-English speaking Europeans from war-ravaged countries who came with not much more than a suitcase.
I came here because back home in Italy there was no jobs. My brother and sister, they came here previous to that, 2 years earlier, and they were speaking very well of Georgetown, Comarco, and the aluminium factory there that they were starting. And I thought it was a good future for me to come out and try it out.
In its first year of operation, the smelter produced just 1,200 tonnes, 6.5% of what it produces today. In 1960, Comarco purchased the smelter. In 2000, Rio Tinto purchased Comarco. The smelter is now operated by Rio Tinto's Pacific Aluminium division. A sense of history, family and pride is strong at Bay. Generations have and still work alongside each other.
I was the first man on the rolling room, and I believe my daughter was the first lady on the rolling room.
The Micheletto family, we certainly have had a presence at Bay over the years, but we're just one of many families that have had the same opportunities.
I was pretty lucky to land a job there because it definitely wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't get the job at Bay when I finished school.
There are more than 430 employees who work at the smelter, making it one of northern Tasmania's largest private employers. On any given day, there could also be another 60 or so contractors on site.
The people at Bay, and I'm not sure if it comes from living on an island, but they're just so resourceful. They continue to find ways to make this business, this plant run more and more efficiently. And whether it's with vehicles, whether it's with machinery, whether it's with electricity or the process, doesn't really matter. People continue to find better ways to operate the equipment, which results in more tonnes being produced out of the same plant year after year after year.
It's fair to say Bay Aluminium's economic contribution is vast, spending more than $215 million annually on goods and services, with approximately 300 local suppliers. More than $46 million is paid annually in salaries, and independent studies have shown that the smelter contributes $690 million annually to Tasmania's gross state product. Safety is a priority. The site has a medical centre and a fully trained emergency response team and equipment to respond. Investment in technology and training has eliminated many hazardous tasks.
It's no longer becoming acceptable to think that just because you work in a heavy industry that you're going to get hurt. So every day, every shift and with every task, we continue to seek out ways to work more safely. And we remain committed to the relentless pursuit of a zero-harm workplace. We owe that to our people, their families, their friends. We owe that to the community.
There are three main raw materials required to produce aluminium: electricity, alumina and carbon. Alumina is shipped from Gladstone and conveyed and stored in the alumina shed. Petroleum coke is mixed with liquid pitch to create carbon. Carbon is baked to create anode blocks. These anodes are cooled for use in the production process later. The anodes are conveyed to the rodding room where a copper rod is inserted. The rods will hold the anode in place in the potline cells. The third and vital ingredient is electricity.
Our electricity comes in at 220,000 volts compared to a normal house that is delivered at 240 volts. The amount of electricity is needed because the conversion of the cells, that's how we produce our aluminium, and this amount of electricity enables us for our throughput to remain competitive in the market.
The smelter operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and has its own high voltage operations team on site to keep this important input stable.
So the electricity for us, we have our own transformers and infrastructure and substations, and we look after that ourselves, so it's all our own network. We're in constant communication with the state grid authorities 24 hours a day, and that's to ensure that the state grid remains stable and continues our constant operation as well.
The vast majority of power is consumed within our three potlines. Here, molten aluminium is produced in reduction cells referred to as pots.
Basically, we add alumina to the reduction cell or the pot, and then pass a high electric current through a carbon anode, and that allows the alumina to be converted to molten aluminium. We then siphon the aluminium out of the pot into a crucible in a process known as tapping, and then that crucible is transported to the metal products for casting. Over the past 60 years, Potlines has grown certainly in the number of reduction cells or pots, and definitely the amount of current that flows through each cell. We've made a lot of innovation over the last couple of decades, and I'd like to think that we're here today because of some of the decisions that were made to invest in this place over the last 10 to 20 years. I'd also like to think that the decisions that we're making today will stand us in good stead for the future, and so people in 10 years or so will actually be saying the same thing about us.
Production is around the clock. The molten aluminium is cast into a range of solid forms.
Bell Bay produces three main products: rolling block, which our customers roll into aluminium foil and aluminium cans. We also produce ingot and T-bar, which is our remelt products. Our customers turn that into typically aluminium wheels, cast aluminium heads, and other small products. The price of aluminium is set globally by the London Metals Exchange. It's often referred to as LME, and that means everyone sells their metal for the same price.
Bell Bay produces around 190,000 tonnes of aluminium a year. On the world stage, the smelter is relatively small. It is often described as a boutique smelter.
We're very flexible for our customers' needs and requirements, and quite often take on some more of the difficult and exotic alloys for our customers.
Around 90% of the metal produced at Bell Bay is shipped to export markets, predominantly in Asia. The quiet surrounds of the on-site wetlands provide a filtration system for runoff water from the plant, part of the smelter's biodiversity program and commitment to sustainable development.
Our wetlands area is up to the east of the main smelter site, and it was constructed in the mid-90s, effectively largely to polish our water before it's discharged to the Tamar estuary. So It allows us to remove some of the contaminants which are present in the water after it's moved through our stormwater system.
Reductions in direct site emissions are amongst the best in the world.
Since 1990, through some technology, we've been able to reduce our direct emissions per tonne by 75%, and that's actually against a background of increasing production by 55%. So we're able to reduce the per tonne of CO2, but also increase production over that time.
New technologies have also enabled the company to virtually eliminate the production of perfluorocarbons or PFCs. Outside the gates, we're actively supporting the Tasmanian community. Initiatives in education, environment, health and wellbeing and the arts are designed to make a positive difference and create quality outcomes. The Formula One in Schools program aims to improve student retention rates. We've also established partnerships in environmental projects such as tree planting, and we are building a stronger Tasmania through our community and sporting grants. We make land and associated facilities available at minimal rent to clubs, and we provide parkland for community use.
The world is hungry for aluminium, particularly the high-grade aluminium produced here in Tasmania. We understand that we've got a role to play within the community in terms of wealth creating, and we want to make sure that continues. So it is incumbent upon us to ensure that we build on the successes of our forebears who for the last 59 years have made decisions that have kept this business operational, and it's really important that we make decisions today and tomorrow that provides for a bright and prosperous future for the next generation of smelter people, their families, as well as the community.